Well, hey there, how you doing today? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thanks for joining me here today. There have been a lot of really interesting developments recently that I'm getting very excited about that are showing that a lot of these topics that we've been looking at on this channel and I've been personally involved with for over 20 years have a lot of the same fundamental principles at work. And I'm specifically talking about things like cold fusion, low energy nuclear reaction, antigravitics, topics like ball lightning that we've seen in and around crop circles. I've seen a ball of light in that area once, and quantum mechanics. And these topics are all seemingly connected in very interesting ways. I'd recommend that you look at Bob Greenyer's videos, Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project. Remember, Martin Fleischmann is one of the pioneers in cold fusion research, and we found out in 1989 that they'd been doing this research at the University of Utah in Salt Lake. And it turns out that Martin Fleischmann was looking at 4 interesting areas of physics, not just cold fusion. He was also studying antigravitics. And if the ideas of Bob Greenyer turn out to be correct, it would suggest that these are fundamentally all the same phenomena underneath. That ordinary matter can change to a self-organizing, self-sustaining, correlated state where the particles, electrons perhaps, interact in a coherent matter. That's why it's called coherent matter, and form these ball of light type objects, which are actually a form of superconductivity and also related to what's called the Bose-Einstein condensate, which happened to be discovered at NIST in Boulder, Colorado, a number of years ago. And these are forms of matter where the quantum states of the particles, the wave-like properties of the particles, overwhelms their particle likeness, and they begin to act like one particle. And then one wave-like particle for all of the atoms is in the Bose-Einstein condensate, and this transitions to a superconducting state, which creates perhaps a cold fusion, low energy nuclear reaction. And you can see that in these kind of self-sustaining plasma-like entities, because you kind of get this glow coming out of it. Relates to perhaps to Andrea Rossi's work with the ECAT right now. And I think this is a very exciting development, because what we're seeing is a kind of a macroscopic quantum behavior, which is creating energetic properties that we normally don't see in ordinary matter. And it would explain why UFOs seem to give off the glows that they do, that they're using some sort of similar self-sustaining property. You remember Hal Puthoff talked about this at the SSE conference a couple of years ago at Las Vegas, how these objects seem to sustain themselves directly from the so-called zero-point energy, the quantum vacuum energy, the kind of the ground state, where there's sort of a huge range of possibilities. And it even describes, according to Bob Greenyer, elements like the sun, which is actually a large ball of light, according to the way he's looking at it, a type of low-energy nuclear reaction, almost the opposite of what we've been told about being a high-temperature fusion reaction. It could, in fact, be a low-temperature fusion reaction that just gives off a ton of energy, which is why we feel the heat from the sun. Now, there's an interesting implication about all of this, which is that you, too, are a ball of light. Because if this linear cold fusion process, the exotic vacuum object process, if it's working in nature, it'd be working in us, too. And so you too would be a ball of light. Now you're saying to me, Simeon, I don't look like a ball of light. You don't look like a ball of light. But that's because we're seeing different branches of the multiverse. you're only seeing yourself right now as a slice of space-time. You're seeing me as a slice in space-time, and if we were able to see a lot of those space-time trajectories all put together, you know, millions and billions of them together, you would start to appear, in my view, as a glowing ball of light, because we're all made of the same quantum processes, which happen at, you know, a small scale and also happen at a large scale. That's also, you know, this is one way to look at it. So this is very exciting to see a lot of these topics brought together. It's a type of breakthrough that I've been waiting for, to show us that, you know, as a lot of people say, so, I mean, you're just why are you looking at all these different topics? Well, I've always seen them as one topic. It doesn't matter what you're talking about. We're talking about breaking symmetries of ordinary matter that we see in space-time, reconfiguring it in a way that produces non-ordinary, extraordinary sort of effects, you know, as in the case of RV, where you seem to have information coming from a so-called distance, or crop circles where you get these light anomalies and other strange magnetic and electromagnetic anomalies around crop circles. The UFO topic, where we see these propulsion systems that move these objects from a kind of a stationary hovering state to really rapid speeds, being able to make turns that would normally affect us in the G forces that we're around, but these objects don't seem to be affected by it. It would explain that, because these self-sustaining correlated electron systems have their own gravitic fields, and they negate the gravity that we're in, because they create their own gravitational forces, and that can be used to negate the gravity we're around, antigravitics effects and so forth. So it's very interesting to see a lot of these topics tied together around one sort of set of ideas that go back to the work of Hal Plodoff, Winston Bostick, Ken Shoulders, and a lot of other cold fusion researchers around the world for decades, to be able to see that actually we're kind of seeing history being rewritten around here, because what it shows us is that, in fact, there have been people researching all these topics, and we didn't really hear their names. I don't know. I didn't find out about Kenneth Shoulders until recently. So we've had one cast of characters involved with gravity, electromagnetics, and other developments in physics, quantum mechanics recently, but there have been other people that have been looking at alternative interpretations of it with real experimental results. And in the case of Ken Shoulders, he created the idea of EVOs, exotic vacuum objects. And it's these exotic vacuum objects that create their own type of space-time, their own gravitational fields. And they seem to be at play in a lot of these phenomena that we consider to be paranormal. And that's why I'm looking here right now. So these EVOs are very important. These exotic vacuum objects interact directly with the quantum vacuum. As you'll be aware, a number of people that have claimed to have seen pieces of these crashed UAPs, UFOs, have said that they interact directly with the quantum fields. And they kind of affect the, it's not the ether the way we used to think about it, like a type of a gas out in space, but it's kind of the vector potential of electromagnetic systems. It's the potential, and they kind of make the quantum vacuum space thinner ahead of them and kind of denser behind it. It kind of pushes the object. And so this is kind of making sense of a lot of things, and we'll be talking more about it in upcoming videos. And it gets even better, because if you factor in some of the multiverse theories we've been looking at, what we're calling quantum effects, quantum vacuum spaces and so forth, they're actually the intersection of lots of multiverses. This is what the many interacting worlds model that we've been talking about suggests. And so it ties all these concepts together in a very interesting way, from multiverses to quantum effects to what we call paranormal phenomena that we see in our world, suggesting that there are objects that have their own space-time configuration, their own gravitational configuration. And when we look at objects like the sun close up, and these exotic vacuum objects and cold, the artifacts of cold fusion reactions, it all looks like the same sort of thing, one at a microscale, one at a macroscopic scale. So it suggests some of the same principles are at work here. Very exciting. So that's what I wanted to let you know about. I think this is a very interesting development. I recommend that you take a look at Bob Greenyer's channel to keep up with this, and we'll be talking about it more. Okay, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Take care for now, and bye.